Okay, dear ladies and gentlemen, first of all I would like to thank Amit Agniotri to have invited EFMD to present or to say a few words about global business schools and the current situation in India. And at the same time, I would like to congratulate MBA Universe for the positive aspects of such a conference. It's very usual in conferences to have people complaining about what is not going very well, complaining about bad situations. It's much less usual to try to come up with measures and to have the courage to present a vision, because obviously a vision is something which is very difficult to establish, and a vision is, it's like doing forecasting. When you forecast, you are very often wrong. So you always incur the risk of missing something. So congratulations to the organizers. What I would like to do is, from my own perspective and EFMD perspective, to say a few words about this topic, building 50 global business schools in India. And I will recognize, and I will be very humble, that I have been in India a couple of times. I've never lived in India, so it's not always easy to be in front of a lot of people very knowledgeable about the topic, and yourself being able to give perceptions. On the other side, perceptions, I'm not a marketing person, I'm an operations management person, but perceptions are very important. That's like rankings. It's much better to be number one than to be number two. And if you are a scientist, you will say that the criteria, if you change the weight of the criteria, your ranking can go on. Nevertheless, if you are the number one, people remember that you are the number one, and they don't know about what criteria is being used. Okay. What I did was I did look at some of the literature that can be found in Global Focus being the quarterly EFMD review, and I started thinking about myself about what's a global business school. And I will agree with our chairperson and with the previous speaker. I think that there are only very few global business schools, global being in the sense of very international as far as faculty, as far as students are concerned. But the first step towards that is to be an international. Andrew Crisp from Carrington Script carried a study last year, out of which a report was published. The name of the study is See the Future, and in that study he interviewed 1,600 students and quite a few schools and managers about what they intend. 69% of the students answered they were interested in studying abroad, and 88% of the managers agreed that a good business education must develop an understanding of business in different parts of the world. So internationalization. In the past, what it meant was attracting international students or building, mainly through faculty, building some strong international networks. Now we can say that more and more internationalization is a culture. It's becoming part and drive every aspect of a school's activities. And if you look at the accreditation systems, and obviously let's say I will be biased by the European accreditation system, but since the beginning, EQUIS and EPAS have paid a lot of attention to international issues. AACSB paid less, but if you look at the last revision of their standards, AACSB is now also paying a lot of attention to international issues. So internationalization is a must for schools that want to become known globally. Now, internationalization, we have to talk about some aspects. You have students, exchange students, international students interested in a program. You have faculty, international faculty, or local faculty but with an international education. Previous speaker confirmed that what global faculty, and I would agree with him that attracting global faculty is not often a question of salary, but it's a question of providing a climate, a research climate, a research environment in which the faculty feel at ease. Other colleagues in the same field, access to databases, access to information, money to attend international conferences. This is much more important than the salary. Research. Is your research an international research published in international journals? Or is your research mainly national and published in national reviews? If, I guess, Germans are very good in manufacturing. If you look at the reviews of their papers, they were published in German up until some time ago. Now, with the exception of a few people, not many people read German. So they had to publish in English. And so you need to publish in international journals. Partners. Who are your academic partners? Who are your corporate partners? Are your corporate partners helping your school, contributing financially or contributing through the possibility of writing cases? Alumni. Where are your alumni employed? Do you pay attention to your alumni? Do you have local alumni clubs? Curriculum. Curriculum should have something which is international. Languages. How many languages? Governance. Is your senior management team international? Now, we will hear tomorrow Howard Thomas, who has been a dean in 3 continents. This is a very unusual feature. But if not at the level of the senior management, do you have an international advisory board in which you could listen to some people who are outside of your own environment? Strategy. A very interesting thing when you do some audits or some accreditation peer review visits is looking at, is there an internationalization strategy? Is it written? Is it like if you would have a corporate strategy? Is it something which is written? Do you have executive education? Is this executive education open to corporates, to local companies, to international companies? And obviously, and we have already heard about it, accreditation by an external independent international body is in some way a recognition of an international school. I won't dare saying a global school, but I think that all global schools are accredited. Okay, if we want to distinguish, and I will go very quickly on that, characteristics of a world-class MBA, another global focus issue in 2011, which biased probably by a very European perspective, because it was the result of interviews conducted about deans of European schools, which doesn't necessarily mean that they were Europeans. Okay? In order to have a world-class MBA, you need to have some reputation to be known. And a reputation, this is what builds up your virtuous circle. Your reputation attracts good students. If you have good students, you are able to attract good faculty doing good research, so you are having a virtuous circle. You need resources, because an MBA is expensive to run. I will come up with a number later on. You need research, because very often among your peers, your quality is measured by the output of your faculty, which is research. You need some raw materials, and the raw materials are the students. You need quality students and quality at the individual level, academic excellence, interpersonal skills, leadership potential. All of these are what makes a good MBA student, but you also need some collective quality student. And by collective quality students, we all know that in a good MBA program, you learn from your students. If you want to learn from your students, you need to have very diverse student body. And having a very diverse student body will mean a diversity of experiences, either all over the world, or the diversity of experiences in the different sectors. Okay? And finally, you need to have an organization which is paying attention to your MBA. Your MBA should be the core flag, or should be the flagship program of your school, and in some ways everything should turn around your MBA. Your incentive system for faculty should be geared towards relevance, academic publications, but also relevance and impact of these publications, research relevance. Your program should be innovative. A good friend of mine whose son just finished an MBA at the London Business Schools asked his son what did he take out of his MBA. And the single answer was networking. All my fellow colleagues are the most important thing that I got from my MBA, because I got them during the MBA, but I got them for the future. Personal development obviously is one of the issues. Positioning of Indian business schools. First of all, is it a question of people? I did my PhD at the Johnson School at Cornell a long time ago, and at that time we were a small 30 group of PhD students. There were 5 or 6 Indians, but 90% of the applications for the PhD were coming from India, and all of them were very qualified. If the school had only looked at the brightest students, it's very likely that out of the 30 students in the PhD program, there would have been 25 Indians. If you look at the scholars from India, they are well reputed, they are all over the world. In any country of the world, at least in any English-speaking country of the world, you have very reputed scholars. So it's not a question of people. So let's look at other things. Where is your positioning with respect to accreditations? And I might be a bit sorry because I might repeat some of the features that have already been presented. EFMD membership, we have 825 members. The growth is coming from Asia. We have 91 in East and Southeast Asia, 27 in Central and Southeast Asia. If we look at the evolution over time, in 2000 there were only 2 Indian schools members, 1 Chinese and 3 in the rest of Asia. If I look at 2009, 5 years ago, there were 16 Indian schools members, 22 Chinese, 33 coming from the rest of Asia. Today, 1st of January, there are 20 Indian schools, very slow progression rate. There are 47 Chinese schools, which is more than double over the last 5 years. The rest of Asia is increased by 50% from 33 to 50. So the interest in attending international organizations has been rising much more outside, if I look at Asia, much more outside Asia than outside India than within India. If I look at EQUIS, we have 147 currently accredited schools across 40 countries. If I look at some of them, 2001 in China, 2009, 1 in India, 8 in China, 3 in the rest of Asia. Now, July 2014, 2 in India, 15 in China, doubled in the last 5 years, 9 in the rest of Asia. If I look at EPAS, which is a program accreditation, in fact, we have currently, that was started much later, so this explains the lower number, 2 in China, 1 in Asia. We also have a development program, EDAF. Anand was on the steering committee of this committee, and in fact we have no Asian school except 1 Chinese school in this development program. If you look at the rankings, QS rankings, top 35 MBA Asia Pacific, 5 Indian schools in the top 35, but I noticed that in fact 4 of the 5 are in the top 10, which is a excellent recognition among the Indian schools. China 9, rest of Asia 6. We already have seen some of the Financial Times rankings, top 100, 3 Indians, 6 Chinese, rest of Asia for the Globe full-time MBA. For the executive MBA, none from India, 14 in China and 6 in the rest of Asia, with an asterisk coming. If you look at the MBA, quite a few of the Chinese are partnering with another school. While in India, at least let's say, none of them is really partnering with another school. Institutions and international alliances, if I look at all the alliances like the PIM network, which was a network created in 1973 by HEC Paris, London Business School, and New York NYU, Stern Business School, 3 Indian schools in the PIM, 6 Chinese, 5 in the rest of Asia. SEMS, which is that network of 1 school per country, 1 in India, 2 in China, 1 in the rest of Asia. Now if I look at this, will be my last table, case competition of EFMD, which is geared towards faculty. If I look at faculty, faculty are very international. In the last case competition, which is run every year, so faculty submit some cases. More than 25% of the cases, 57 were coming from Indian business schools, out of the 258. There the progression is significant. So my perception is that obviously the problem is not with people, it's not with scholars, but there is some breaks in front of the Indian schools to get more internationals, to get more global. Comparison with China, I will go very quickly because we have the comparison with China. Creation of SEEPs. In China, 2 different kinds of models. SEEPs, which is a postgraduate education with Cheung Kang Graduate School of Business, created in 2002, or research-based business schools within universities. We have the example of Ganghua. What can we say? Faculty with international PhDs. This is the way that they've chosen to internationalize. Cooperation with international partners in creation of MBA and executive MBA. And in the last 5 years, we have seen a big increase in the number of Chinese schools, members of EFMD, of getting accredited. They've opened up a lot of exchange programs. And in order to do that, what you need to do is you need to attend conferences. Okay? 2 trends. Okay. Few numbers, very interesting about MOOCs. Working paper published by Christian Terwich and Karl Ulrich on July 16, both of them from the Wharton School. Cost of publishing an academic paper. Faculty, $300,000 US. 50% is for research, so it is $150,000. On average, based on some statistics, one faculty member publishes with 1 co-author a 0.75 of an A article per year, which brings the cost of 1 A journal to $400,000. If you look at MOOCs, fixed cost of development of a MOOC based on the Wharton experience, and we have Dr. Augur this morning talking about that, $70,000. Marginal cost of each offering, each time you offer it, $7,000. 250,000 students enrolled, so the cost per student is 56 cents. Out of these, 5% of them graduated, 12,500 students. Cost of running a MOOC course, $11 per US dollars, compared to $1,500 cost per student in a traditional classroom. This is bound to have significant changes in the future. Renaissance, this is our studies, Johan Rose, who is the Dean of Joint Shopping, and who will lead or moderate a panel at the next EFMD Deans and Directors Conference, panel in which Raj Danka will participate, says we need more basics, philosophy. We need people who are able to think. So let's go back to basics. Blended is a must. Students should be able to choose what is of interest to them, so portfolio approach. Business schools should become much closer to science, technology, engineering, and math, because where is the innovation is, and business schools should merge business experience hands-on with academia, and there are a lot of work to do. Conclusion. Internationalization is not a choice. I think that in order to become international and then global, you need to play the membership in international organizations game, and you need to play the accreditation game in order to improve against a set of criteria. New technologies are going to have an impact. People talk about the flipped classroom, blended model, even for top business schools. Cooperate with STEM institutions. And then, an example, with the support of EFMD, 10 Chinese schools all over China and 10 European schools in different countries have set up a platform in which, platform open, in which they can deliver joint degrees, they can do executive education, they can do study trips. Just an idea. What would prevent 10 Indian schools from trying to work with 10 European schools or 10 world schools in order to open up platforms for exchanges? Thank you very much for your attention.